Welcome everybody. My name is Erik Rutkens. I am one of the initiators of the Cybersecurity Expertise Center in the north of the Netherlands. Actually, this is a public-private cooperation between government, local government, cybersecurity companies, small and medium enterprises to increase cybersecurity resilience, to develop knowledge, to share knowledge, and also to create employment and get investments in the north of the Netherlands when it comes to cybersecurity. We created a challenge, and before I go into the challenge, I want to give you a little background of what's going on. And maybe you're aware, maybe you're not. What we see is that cybercrime is moving rapidly from the physical world into the digital world. Actually, cybercriminal activity is one of the biggest challenges we will face in the next decades. Cyber attacks are the fastest growing form of crime globally. And they are increasing in size, sophistication, and costs. Actually, cybercrime damages will cost the world around $6 trillion annually by 2021. And this is exponentially more, for instance, than the damages inflicted by natural disasters in a year, and more profitable than the global trade of all major drugs combined. And cybercrime is vastly the most undercounted form of crime we know. In 2018 in the Netherlands, of all crimes that were reported, only a very small percentage, around 9%, was cybercrime. And of this percentage, only 20% of the were companies, the rest were individuals. And why is this? Does anybody know? Why do companies do not report cybercrime? They don't want to leak it. That's one. User trust? Yeah, that's of course to do with their image, for instance, but they're also ashamed or embarrassed. They often feel also that the police can't help. And in a lot of cases, for instance, when it comes to things like ransomware, the insurance company advises company to pay. So after that, for them, the deal is done. So why should you report it? I mentioned ransomware, and of course, in the past period in the Netherlands, we had a few nice examples of ransomware, for instance, at the University of Maastricht, where they paid. Actually, ransomware is the fastest growing form of cybercrime. It's, I always say, the business model par excellence for cybercriminals. You can buy ransomware as a service online and start your criminal career. And actually, it's very profitable. It's hardly reported. The chances of being caught, if you do it, of course, in a smart way, are very, very slim. Don't know if you know this picture. This is actually, sorry, I have to change the picture. This is actually the first form of ransomware we know. Does anybody know the name of the creator of this form of ransomware and the year it was actually launched? You can Google it. It was created by Dr. Joseph Pope in 1998. And it was distributed on a floppy disguised as antivirus software. And you put it in your MS-DOS Windows computer, and it replaced your autoexec.bat file. And then you had to wire transfer $198 to a PO box in Panama. Actually, this Joseph Pope was arrested by Scotland Yard. I don't think he ever made a lot of money. And of course, there are other types of crime. I don't know if you remember Pathé. In the north of the Netherlands, where we come from, the latest news about Pathé was about 2 people being killed in a Pathé cinema. But where I refer to is actually the CEO or clip fraud, where Pathé suffered damages from 1.9 million euros. Does anybody know what actually the CEO fraud was? How the criminal scammed Pathé? A phishing mail, but do you know what was in the phishing mail? What they said? Yeah, actually, the criminals pretended to be the director of the mother company in France, and send an email to the CEO or CFO in the Netherlands saying, we are in a secret merger and acquisition and we need money. And actually in a few transactions, they actually got $1.9 million. The management in the Netherlands was fired, and I think the criminals are sitting somewhere in the Bahamas, sipping a nice martini bianco or something. Probably. More interesting, nearly half of the cybercrime attacks are targeted against small and medium enterprises. And 60% of small and medium companies that suffer an attack are out of business within 6 months. So somehow we need to increase the security resilience for these companies to make actually our society a little safer. What we see is that what I told you, cybercrime hardly isn't reported. We need more information. We see also a lot of shortage in cybersecurity knowledge. When you look at cybersecurity and small and medium enterprises, hardly any knowledge is available at these companies. And if they want to get this knowledge, it's quite expensive. If you want to hire a consultant, 100 euros fee per hour is nothing. If you want to do something with threat intelligence, you can buy a subscription for like 50,000 euros a year. And when you see all the information, you really don't understand it. So, as we say in the Netherlands, then you start acting like a struisvogel. You put your head in the sand and hope these cyber attacks don't hit you. But of course, the question isn't if you will be attacked. The question is, maybe you already are attacked. What we think is necessary and very important part of a challenge is that public and private companies work together, share data in a very smart way. Small and medium enterprises need to share data. Their IT suppliers need to share data. The police, the public prosecution officer, all sorts of local governments need to share information in a standardized, protocolized way to enable us to detect, prevent, damage losses, and also recover from cybersecurity attacks, or maybe even other forms of cyber shizzle, or how we call it. So we need slingshot teams. We have an whole ecosystem. We've aligned all necessary stakeholders to enable a team to come up with a solution, and we can enable you to actually, in a sustainable way, realize this solution together with us. And of course, all different stakeholders have different perspectives, and hopefully you can challenge us during this session to make our challenge understandable.
Okay, perhaps the other stakeholders can briefly introduce themselves and perhaps highlight a bit of their perspective on this challenge and say what they want to get out of it and how they want to get out of it. And perhaps Erik and Klaas and Sander, and can you introduce yourself? You've got a mic, and I would say that you pass the mic on. Perhaps you can start. And
Hello, my name is Robert Schaap. I work as a cybercrime investigator for the Dutch National Police. Hello. Yeah. It's on. I'll start over. My name is Robert Schaap. I'm a cybercrime investigator with Dutch National Police. And it's an amazing job. We get to do an awful lot of very interesting investigations. And we also have a lot of policing powers to do that investigation. We can really deep dive when we have a suspect to investigate. And our laws in the Netherlands are pretty broad. We even have a new law which allows certain teams within the police department to hack back if necessary. On the other hand, what we're lacking is a visibility on the criminal landscape. In the old days, when cops were walking their beat, it's called surveilleren in het Nederlands, we had a pretty good picture of where certain folks were doing bad things. Online, we cannot do that, because then it's called surveillance, because it's done with a mechanical device. And we don't like surveillance, we don't want to live in a police state. So when we start an investigation, we are looking at something like this, which is very broad. And to be helped by the community to actually get a quicker start in investigation would be perfect. Now, luckily for us, within the cybersecurity community, when there's an incident, a lot of it is investigated by cybersecurity companies. And a lot of the investigation has already been done. So we can start, which is a huge leap forward. And that's what I would like from this challenge for the police department to happen. A platform that when we start an investigation following an incident would help us quick start an investigation. And that could be something like a Citrix hack, could be something like a hospital that has been hacked and ransomware on the network. But it could also be something like a manhunt, when we as police are looking for a certain criminal that has to be caught very quickly. So if that could be helped by this project, it would be perfect. Thank you.
Klaas, you represent all these companies that are ashamed to go to the police to report anything on cybercrime, isn't it?
I work for some business parks and the campus in Groningen, and we are still driving with cars around looking if windows and doors are closed. But the question came up, we have to pay 200,000 euros a year for that. Can we do that on a more appropriate way, and can we detect companies who are not in order? In our meetings, companies reported that, hoe zeg je dat, inbraken, burglaries in the old-fashioned way is not happening anymore. But still there are a lot of losses because criminals came into the companies by hacking the cameras, which were for safety bought. Wi-Fi networks who were open, but also, how do you say, electric systems who were very easy to break in. So we did a pilot with Erik's company to combine those physical security people with the hackers from Erik, and there were surprising results. So we are sure there's more under the sea level, and how can we work together and find out what companies we should give help because we are interested in healthy companies in our parks.
Okay, and I guess the public prosecutors are also very interested to see things captured in the beginning instead of taking action on the end, isn't it?
Yes.
Yes, that is right. My name is Erik Laanen. I am a public prosecutor at the District Court of The Hague here, and I also prosecute cybercrime. And that's right, because usually the public prosecutor starts prosecuting when a crime has already been committed. And we are, of course, very interested in making sure that those crimes don't happen. It will make my life easier. I have less to prosecute, less work. We have a lot of work on our plate. So that is something that really interests me, to be ahead of the crime. And that starts with awareness, like putting locks on a door, but then digitally, but also be aware of what kind of crimes are hip right now. I mean, if we know that ransomware is going to be going viral next couple of months, it's nice to know now instead of in 3 months. I have on more points, but maybe I'll just
Pass
put
on to
them
your
up
neighbor, please.
later.
Last but not least.
My name is Sander Veenstra. I work for the Regional Information and Expertise Center on undermining or subversive crime in the northern of the Netherlands. And we would like to investigate cybercrime with our partners. However, our partners do not see cybercrime, and our partners are the prosecution service, the tax services in Holland, the police, and as Erik already mentioned, cybercrime is massively underreported. And at the RIEC, the Regional Information Expertise Center I work for, we work on an integral basis, so we work together, multidisciplinary, based on signals from one of the partners. And in 10 years' time, so the past 10 years, we have had exactly 0 cybercrime cases, and that can't be correct because cybercrime is present in all of society. So we should see cybercrime in an earlier stage, and not just based on the signals of our partners that don't see cybercrime either. We want to see cybercrime before it happens. For example, by using web crawlers on dark web and see what are trends in cybercrime, what can we expect. And then I think it would be wise not to conduct research on individual cybercrime cases like the police does, but to conduct more research on phenomena. So what is going to happen, what kind of cybercrimes are trending, and how can we develop crime scripts and barriers to stop those cybercrimes from happening in an early phase. That's my interest as a representative of the RIEC. Yes.
Yeah, maybe a little bit in addition to that, what we see a lot is because of companies that are ashamed that there is, for instance, a form of ransomware at the company. They keep it to themselves, they do not report it, but they also do not inform other companies. So it spreads and spreads and spreads, and everybody is damaged.
Okay, and I suppose we're going to have about 5 or 6 teams in the that could participate in the challenge. I want to give you the possibility to ask some questions at the forum that's here to get to know some more on how a team would look like, perhaps what their participation, what they bring to you to be successful in the hackathon. Who can I give the mic for some questions, because there must be.
Very good talk, guys. To all of you, I would like to ask what you will do with the winning solution. How are you going to practically implement? How are you going to fund? How are you going to actually do something with the solution afterwards? What can you guarantee now?
So not just what happens until the hackathon, but mostly what happens after the hackathon with the things that are discovered, built.
What we have in place and partially have in place and partially have working on is that we actually want to have a sort of a digital dispatch center from the foundation we have. So from that on, we have a concept of a business model you can use, and we have some starting capital to help the team implement a solution. If necessary, we also have investors who can help. And of course we have, I think that's also important in the next steps, all the right stakeholders to help us make sure we do the right things, but also have the right data sources.
Right. So, just one follow-up. If I hear you correctly, you say that the foundation will own the solution and run the solution.
No, it will. What we will try to do is not to make it, and don't understand me wrong, a commercial failure. Right. But we, from the foundation, we will support you, and actually try to prevent that this will become the solution of the foundation or one of its the participating companies.
Yes,
So it should actually. Yeah, decentralized is a better word, I guess. But
yeah, there's a lot of talk about the commons here.
Yeah.
This is typically a solution that the commons can benefit from, of course. The foundation is already there.
the foundation is already there,
And you, as a group, the five of you, your 5 organizations, they run, maintain, support that foundation? How?
the foundation has a board, which is actually Klaas and myself.
Okay.
We are right now setting up a sort of a how do you call it, a little organization to support us. There is going to be a sort of a advisory board and a, how do you call it, supervisory board. We have a lot of partners who committed to this project, also in educational institutions, for instance, by which we are running already running projects to create programs to raise awareness for small and medium enterprises. We do projects where we try to educate young children about security and try to educate them in hacking, for instance. We are setting up a hack lab where children that somehow got lost in the educational system but have a lot of digital skills. They have a place every Friday where they can, without any obligations, learn more about technology, hack, stuff like that. So we already do a lot of things.
Okay.
And above that, it's important that in the northern part of the Netherlands, ICT is a very important part of the industry, and also cybercrime is adapted by the politics to make further steps for more growth. So we have a program which is very broad in the province of Groningen, in which we can bring solutions further on. And we hope we can develop some things that also police and justice are working together to pilot in the northern part, if those solutions are going to work.
Actually, what's very nice is that initially the partners within the foundation are the local police and the local prosecution's office. And what they did, and I think that's a compliment and a very good foundation for this project, is that they involved the national police and the national prosecutor's office. So to really not make this only a project or a challenge which is for the northern of the Netherlands, but for our whole country, and of course preferably even wider than that.
Yeah, cybercrime doesn't stop at the border, does it? No.
That would make it easier, I guess.
If only.
If only, yeah.
If only.
Now, from a police point of view, what you are getting back from the project is that we can deliver back information. We get our policing powers from attribution. We're trying to catch the criminal. But it's not the only thing we do. When we, for instance, seize a server or or enter a network to do a search, we will find victim data and we can do victim notification. We already protected a lot of companies in the Netherlands because we found infections from certain viruses, and we got a warning out, so they don't become a victim of ransomware, for instance. That's a very important part of an investigation, but sometimes you don't get to arrest the criminal because he's on the other side of the world. But when we can disturb a criminal enterprise, and we can do victim notification, and we can do or help the security sector improve their protection, then a society as a whole becomes better.
So getting the criminal is not the main objective, but...
Well, it certainly is. But it's not the only objective.
Okay, okay. If you look at these kind of projects, systems that you build, privacy is quite a concern, especially if you want to connect different systems from different departments all together. That is quite a hassle to get them opened up and to connect with them. How would that fit into this project?
Oh, you think?
Well, that's a difficult question, and it's because of two parts. One, I am, of course, I know about the legal matters of sharing data, but the most important problem here is that Justice Department has a different law than companies do. The companies use a privacy kind of law, and we use more of a justice, criminal records. Well, it's maybe too technical, but yes, it's a very big challenge to. I think it's more of a challenge of the private companies in our working together. The government problem is that we have a lot of information everywhere. I mean, there are a lot of different departments, ministries that have a lot of information. We're not allowed to connect that all together. If we could have that, that would be, well, the police state. So there are two problems. One is the government within itself, and the two is the private companies that also have laws to abide to. And then there's the link between government and private companies. I think it goes too far to go into depth in that. But if I look at the solution, I think what's most important for me as a prosecutor is that the information I bring to court, the information that I present about a suspect, is that information is verifiable. That's important for me. Can I, I mean, if a police officer writes something down in a report, which is something he saw or something he did on a computer, it has a certain value because he is a civil servant with a, the English word, an ambtseed. But if a oath, yes, and that's something we value. But if a private person produces evidence, it has less value in the way that we're not sure how this evidence, how it came to be. But if that private person makes that transparent and explains like step by step what he did to obtain that evidence, it gains in value because it's retraceable. So for me, that's important. It's maybe a little bit boring for IT experts that just want to go forward and investigate, but in court, that makes all the difference in if they believe what I present or do they believe the defense that will say that it's fabricated or that it doesn't have any value.
I think the strength of an information sharing platform, which we're talking about now on cybercrime, should be not in personalized data or on personal suspects, but much more on what I said earlier, the phenomena, like what kind of trends in cybercrime do we see as cybersecurity companies, as businesses who are attacked by cyber criminals, but also when we use a web crawler to search dark web on cybercrime and cybercrime trends. And we should just combine all that kind of information on trends in cybercrime to see if we can find what the modus operandi of the criminals are, so we can disturb the criminal process before something happens. That is, I think, my personal opinion, that is my main goal, and not to identify who cyber criminals are and to make sure that they will be prosecuted.
I have a question. So actually a big part of the challenge is also to incentivize the companies to work together and not only building technical solution, but also incentivize that they like building a community or that they work together. Am I right?
I think you're right.
For sure.
Yeah.
So what I see is I don't think it's only about the technical part, but also about the collaboration part. So how will we collaborate as a team? So if I join your team, how do we collaborate? So how do you set this up?
You mean also during the hackathon itself? Or yes, what we will do is, before the actual hackathon, make sure that also by organizing some sessions with the stakeholder, that we have all data or information that is available, that the teams have that. We will also make sure that during the hackathon, the right experts from a more for instance, a collaboration point of view, legal point of view, police, small and medium companies, cybersecurity companies are present and can help you during every, let's say, hour of the 84 hours. And afterwards, we have through our foundation, which is a collaboration, we have a team ready to help the winning team actually build a minimum viable product, etc.
So you're also joining by yourself in the team, or because then it's a collaboration. Otherwise, it's just an assignment, kind of.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, I think that's a good question. We see ourselves as part of the teams.
Now during
not
the hackathon,
just as the principal of the.
During the hackathon, they have the challenge owners that guide the team. So if you are at the hackathon, you are first trying to make up for yourself what you are going to create in that 48 hours that you have. And during that 48 hours, these people are there to help you. So all questions that you have at the moment, you will have time to discuss with them. You will not only work on the technical side of a product, which is in this case probably AI solution like product, but also to present it. So you have to sell your solution at the end of the hackathon to the challenge owners. Then they can pick a winner. And there is one of the teams that has created the thing that fits most to the challenge they have got, or is completely different, but a great solution that they haven't thought of and might solve another problem that they have. That also happens. So that's basically what happens. And then afterwards, the day after the hackathon, there is again a presentation, and you go into an accelerator program. Then the real collaboration starts.
Yeah, but of course during the hackathon, it's also we are there, but we will collaborate with you.
Yeah, of course.
We expect you, of course, to come up with a solution. But I think your
well, there's six teams of 6 people that need help from the process owners. Sorry.
Yes.
Of course. So they're not to hold you back. They give information to you. They give data sources to you to make the best product.
It's in the northern part we have a collaboration between the big IT companies. It's called Samenwerking Noord, in Samenwerking Noord, you have companies als Duo, RDW, and that kind of companies. They said they want to support the track, and they support also with teams to bring in. So also there you have the support of the people in real life who working with these problems and yourself.
Any other? Yes.
Yeah, shouldn't the National Cybersecurity Center also be sharing information? Because I thought they were collecting information.
Well, this is, as we say in the Netherlands, je raakt een gevoelige snaar. This is a sensitive subject, and probably one of you can tell something about that. I think the other Erik also touched on this subject. When you look at, for instance, the prosecutor's office or the police or the National Cybersecurity Centers, these are sort of silos, and even by law sometimes they aren't even allowed to share information, which is the case with the National Cybersecurity Center, for instance. They work for our critical infrastructure, and for instance they don't share information with small and medium enterprises. They're not allowed to, which is frustrating. But maybe you can say, or anybody else can elaborate on that.
I was about to say what you just said, so thanks.
Any other questions from the audience?
Yes.
So it intrigued me when you said that you're not allowed to share the information, because I think that's kind of fundamental problem that could solve a lot of challenges connected to this, since I think government should be the one who supports this sharing of information and using the same standard. So we can also ask information questions, like where did it come from, what actually is it, and have the sort of the definitive truth that the information that is there is the right information. So my question is, how would you, or what technology could make this change, or sort of make the government supportive of sharing more information, but not be afraid of the privacy and things connected to that?
Yeah. Well, personally, when Sander also said it, I'm not, in this case, particularly afraid of all sorts of privacy issues. We should look at, like Sander said, phenomena, or at incidents or crimes. And even I think that's maybe more a collaboration challenge than a technical challenge. And there are different protocols, different techniques we can use here. We should come up with, I guess, a sort of a protocol which enables the police or the prosecutor's office, and not to mention small and medium enterprise, because they don't share anything right now, or hardly anything, to enable them to share data or information, and also in such a way that it's supported by the technology, instead of sending people a questionnaire where they have to sit and type in information. Because from an entrepreneurial point of view, I will not do that. I do not have time for that. I want to run my business. Yeah.
That it should be like an umbrella layer of information,
Yeah.
sort of, that people can tap in and then share the information based on the protocols like consensus or governance, and everybody will be like on the same.
Yeah, and I think there should be ways from for the police, for instance, on not on individual cases, but on like phenomena or attribution, or to share information, which could be enhanced or could make sense, or even could be used by for other purposes. I can imagine, for instance, if you have 5 cases simultaneously, which we bring together to this platform, where there is a case of, for instance, power grids being disrupted, then you can also alert like the crisis organizations, watch out, there's maybe more going on than just a simple disturbance of the power grid. Maybe there are hackers working on the having evil plans or whatever.
I agree, because I think that the problem you mentioned, that we have too much information, It sounds like a paradox, but in my opinion, the solution to too much information is even more information. Like,
Yeah.
for example, so traditionally we store our information in libraries where we categorize them by certain topics, but in a digital world we're not constrained in a physical world. So all the information is sort of in this one space, and what I mean by more information is that each individual information can be interlinked with other information. So, as a basic example, a car. What color is the car? And then color is connected to other concepts, and like semantically create this network of sort of meanings, like a language.
Yeah.
And we can use this language then to name things digitally. And that way, when we name things digitally, we know the meanings and the connections between the meanings. So we create this web of information that, in theory, we can ask information questions and find out more about the criminals. Like, if we have so much information, we can also find new insights from information that is missing, for example.
Yeah.
84 hours to work it out.
Good luck.
84 hours to make a start. Make a start.
Make a market start.
Yes, well,
Yeah.
thank you. I don't have to tell you that privacy is a big thing. And my former boss used to say, invading privacy is our core business as police officers when we're doing an investigation. But because we are doing that, we are bound by a severe law, the law on police data, about sharing it. Because we don't want a government that's able to look in everybody's lives and then act on it. So when we see something in a certain investigation, we're not allowed to share it in another investigation or allowed to share it with the tech services. Also, we do not get information from our National Cybersecurity Center because they also have their own law and can only give data to their group of companies that they serve. And they only serve the state and what is called critical infrastructure companies. We also don't get information from our intelligence services because they're also bound by their own law. So the silos within government, they're big and that is a problem. On the other hand, that's also the society we want to live in. So we just have to work with it.
What we, for instance, did to make sort of a comparison, I also have a cybersecurity company and we have a lot of we employ pen testers. Last year we did about 800 reports. What one of my colleagues did, he developed sort of we don't share any information about individual reports and sensitive data of our customers. But what we do using the structure of the report, we develop a sort of a scraper where we can sort of get meta data out of the reports, where we can tell you something about what type of vulnerabilities we found at small and medium enterprises, or in a typical web shop, or in a specific type of device, or in a specific industry. We can relate it to, for instance, the OWASP top 10. But actually we want to share this scraper with all similar companies so that we can share this or aggregate this information and share it with everybody, but also, for instance, with the police, or so you can see what like the vulnerability landscape is in a specific industry or whatever.
The reason why you don't share other information is because of the law, right? Like, even though it's probably necessary for the other party as well. So, do you think that technology or
I was already in the back for the final question, but
oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
So, who do you think, or what should be like the first sort of step to get the ball rolling? Like, the government should incentivize the technology, or technology should kind of force the government into a change? I mean, obviously it should be both at the same time,
Yeah.
but that would be ideal.
I think personally, with also a challenge like this, we do not have to have to save the problem in one day, or in this case 2 days. But if we can set sort of an example, that will also enable others to see what's possible, and maybe, hopefully, accelerate changing things like the law, or opening up people to.
We got the final question because the time is almost up here in the end of the room.
Thank you. Is the scraper that you mentioned already open source? Because it sounds like that this could be a very interesting solution that teams can use during the hackathon.
Yes, you can have it. Not really open. It will be open. It's available. It's not like it's currently on
But
GitHub or
available
anything,
only
but
during the hackathon, or available all
no,
time? That's the
it's
question.
available for yeah. It's available for everybody. Yes. Yeah. Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Who's going to? You all 5 at the hackathon? Are you going to be in Groningen in April? All 5 of you?
Definitely.
Okay, definitely you as well, I hope. Who did they contact you? They want to enroll, have more questions, Erik?
Everybody can contact me, or my colleague Danny is sitting over there. He's sort of the challenge manager, but I guess everybody here is open for questions as well.
Okay. Robert, Klaas, Erik, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Sander, of course.